Hello guys, in this video I will show you the autosomal DNA results, predicted phenotype, traits, and GD match results of a Vonyuchka culture woman from a Neolithic steppe in Russia. Now, this culture is said to be ancestral to Yamnaya and Indo-Europeans. Now, getting to the topic of phenotype, with my NOSHACOT tool, she is predicted to have brown eyes, black hair, and snub-shaped nose. This is also kind of the same as her prediction with YSEC, also sort of brown eyes, black hair, and snub-shaped nose. And with snipper-free, also the same, more of the same, brown eyes, black hair, and snipper-free also predicts skin color, actually much better than YSEC, and according to snipper-free, she had white skin. Which is interesting about her is that she had BH1, blue eye haplotype 1, which is very typical. It is basically very typical for all Eurasians, everybody who's not a sub-Saharan African, so nothing surprising here. But she was actually heterozygous for BH4 mutation, and BH4 mutation is this very rare Mediterranean variant in OCA2 that lightens eyes. So that's kind of interesting, right? And she did not have BH2, did not have BH3, which are, by the way, BH2 and BH3 are also mutations in OCA2 and HERC2 that lighten eyes. However, they are more typical, they are more present in Northern Europeans rather than Mediterraneans, which is what BH4 is present more in Mediterraneans actually. If you really care about this genotype and it's important to you, you should actually watch my video on the origins of blue eyes and the OCA2 and HERC2 phylogenetic tree. It's on my channel. You're gonna have to scroll down pretty far to find it, but it's there. Moving on to the Pro-Freelancing Pro variant of ZRD2, here she was actually homozygous for the no-go learner mutation. This is a mutation that occurred in Europeans to protect us from schizophrenia by giving us less dopamine D2 receptors in the brain. Now, she also had the A2 genotype in TAC1, also of DRD2, which is also very typical, not just European, but a typical human genotype actually. And she had the European warrior with the IE genotype in CORONARY. So the implication of this genotype is that she had slower reuptake of dopamine, which means more dopamine builds up in the system, which means, as it says on the screen, advantage in memory and attention tasks. However, what it does not say on the screen is that it comes up with a downside, and the downside is that people with this genotype are less stress resilient. In this variation of OXTR, she had this genotype, which indicates decreased OXTR expression, so sort of sociopath genes, sort of. She did not have derived EDAR, so no East Asian facial traits such as shovel-shaped incisors. She did not have the European lactose persistence mutation, which means was most likely lactose intolerant as an adult, which typical genotype for everybody who's not a Northern European. And she also had the European mutation that protects against myopia, which is very cool. When it comes to polygenic traits, she had a very high risk score for Parkinson's disease. She had a pretty high risk score for coronary heart disease. She also had a pretty low, below average risk score for schizophrenia. She had an average risk score for bipolar disorder. She had an average, or maybe slightly above average risk score for brain aneurysm. She had an average risk score for asthma. And she had a very high, very high risk score for Crohn's disease. That's why I put it at the end. This is what she scores on GD match with Eurogenes K13. It's a very interesting result because it's different from Yamnaya. It's more southern, it's more West Asian and South Asian than Yamnaya. So there is more of a shift towards modern groups of West Asia and Caucasus. With the oracle here, she's actually closest to Tabasarans and Chechens, which are both people in Dagestan. Well, Tabasarans are in Dagestan, but Chechens are in Chechnya. And she's actually getting modeled as a mixture of Tabasaran plus Erzia or Lithuanian, with very high distances, however. But still, she's mostly getting modeled as Tabasaran. So clearly very southern individual. And with the G25, we see more of the same, closest to people of the Caucasus and Tajikistan. She's actually getting modeled as a mixture of Caucasus and Tajikistan plus 20% Latvian, which is kind of similar to what you've seen previously with Eurogenes K13. And this is what she scores with MDLP K11 on GD match. Now you're seeing here 44% EHG, but that's not really Eastern Hunter-Gatherer. Even though it's named EHG, it's a Caucasus component. It peaks in Caucasus groups. So she's got mostly Caucasus components here. And she's actually way more Southern, way more Caucasus, way more Iranian than references for Yamnaya, Kalmykia, or Afanasyev, or Poltavka. So she's actually way more Southern than the Yamnayans. And this is what she scores with Pandianel K10. Here, once again, overwhelmingly CHG, overwhelmingly Caucasus result. But you're actually going to see oracles in upcoming in a couple seconds. And you're going to see that the distances for the oracles are actually really high. Why? It's because she scores no ENF. Pretty much all the modern groups score a lot of ENF, and she has 0%. She's got no ENF in her heritage. She's only Caucasus plus Eastern Hunter-Gatherer, basically. And this is what she scores with pan-DNA LK12 here. It's more of the same. You don't see any ENF, you don't see any Anatolian Neolithic farmer, any European Neolithic farmer, nothing from the farmers in her heritage. So this is why with the oracle you can sort of model her as a mixture of some modern groups, but at the same time you really can't. You really can't, because all these modern groups have a lot of European farmer admixture, or Neolithic farmer, or Anatolian farmer, some kind of farmer admixture. She doesn't have any. This is what she scores with Ancient Eurasia K6. Now, interestingly, she's scoring only 27% Natufian. Now, I'm Russian, I got 30%, so she's less Natufian than me, even though she's like half Caucasus hunter-gatherers. So Caucasus hunter-gatherers were actually less southern. The explanation for this is that Caucasus hunter-gatherers were less southern than the European farmers. They had less Natufian-like, or Dzudzuana-like, I should say, ancestry, because none of them really had Natufian proper ancestry, but more like ancestry that's related to Natufians, such as Dzudzuana people. And finally, this is what she scores with Gedrozia K3. As you can see, overwhelmingly West Eurasian. So she's clearly got a lot of modern European drift. That's why she's scoring 85% West Eurasian. But she's still got that 13.5% East Eurasian, which can be explained by her just being an ancient individual, number 1, and her having a lot of ancient North Eurasian ancestry, number 2. So now that you've finished watching, thanks for watching until the end. You can download this sample in 23andMe format from link which is in the description, and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy what I do here on YouTube.